Hello guys, Guest 1337 tutorial here. So let's get right into it. I would like for you to like and subscribe. So Guest 1337, and I will be referring to him as Guest, is one of the main sentinels in the game Forsaken. He has 3 abilities: block, charge, and punch. These will be shown on screen. Now all these abilities are very useful if done right. So now I will show you how to do it right. First, block. Block puts your hands up and blocks melee attacks. These will be listed in the description. The block description from the game will also be on screen. When you use block and the killer attacks you, it will give you punch. Punch is the most important ability about Guest, but we'll get to that later. To use block, you have to react or predict a killer's attack. At low levels, predicting works, but when you get to 2 weeks in the game, the killer gets smarter. But for this part, I will explain how to predict. When a killer is next to you, they'll 9 times out of 10 use their melee. This is because it's the shortest cooldown ability. The best way to use it is to regain stamina and then block right before the killer looks like it's going to attack you. This will give you the most successful blocks and the most punches. Now I'm going to show you all of the killers attacking Guest and him blocking and parrying. Next, charge, the second ability. Charge is very useful, but only if done right. When charging, you will go forward for about 3 seconds. This charge is much faster than sprinting. If you hit a wall or killer, it will end prematurely. The best way to use this ability is wait for a killer to go onto a ledge and push them off. This gets them really annoyed. This will be shown on screen along with the charges description from the game. Now that you know how to use charge, I will show you every ledge that you can put the killer off to get value out of charge in Forsaken. Hello. I spent like 4 hours editing this. This is really annoying. Okay, so now that you know almost all the ledges where you can push killers off, now you need to practice knowing them. So next time you're in a game and you're near a ledge and you have charge ready, wait there and push them off and get them really annoyed. Also, when you're on flat ground, try not to use your charge unless you're trying to save someone from an attack. Because if you miss, it'll give you slowness for like 10 seconds or so if you miss. So that's just some helpful tips. Yeah. Now on to punch. Punch, as I said earlier, is the most important ability about Guest. A lot of people use it wrong. So to get punch, you need to land a block. After landing a block, you have 2 or so choices. Punch immediately to get a parry, or wait to attack. When you parry, you have to do it right after the block. If not, the killer will probably rack up. So when you parry, track the killer with your mouse or camera so you land the punch. If you save it for later, wait for the killer to chase someone else, and then wait for the killer to come behind a corner while you are behind it and punch it to help your teammate. There are more strategies you can use, but I'll show those later. I'm going to show you some footage of me in a public server getting a block and a parry. Okay, so now that you've seen examples of every ability for beginners, we're getting into a more advanced section. For blocking, you can do this thing called reacting. For Nosferatu, John Doe, 1X, and Guest 666, they have very noticeable and long windups. when you see them, you can block and get a good punch and parry. For Slasher and Cool Kid, they have very short windups, but they do have abilities with obvious ones. For Slasher, it is Gashing Wound, where he will raise his machete and then push it down. And then for Cool Kid, there is Walkspeed Override, where he winds back and charges forward. When you see him charging, you can block and you'll get a good parry. Just a reminder, for Walkspeed Override, he can go past you, so yeah. There's also a technique called dragging. This is where when you react to a killer's attack and they have a kind of a leaving hitbox. So the hitbox will stay there after they press the attack button. When this happens, you can still block into it and get a punch. So if you see a killer attack behind you, you can wait for about a split second and then you can block and get it right at the last hitbox to surprise the killer with your punch. As you saw there, he saw the killer attack and then blocked. He reacted to it basically and used the lingering hitbox to get a punch and a parry. And when you get a parry, you have to move your camera around to make sure you actually land the parry, or else you'll just waste your block. So charge doesn't really have much tech, but you can use it to mitigate damage. So if a killer is going into attack, you can charge into the attack because it gives you resistance. You can block the damage and give them knockback. And you can also use it close up on ledges to throw them off, which will give you massive distance away from them. And then you can get stamina, and then you can use dragging to get a stun, and then you just run away and they'll probably go chase someone else. That's really all. Punch also doesn't have much other tech. It's mostly block. So just keep using these tips and get better at guess. And yeah, have a good day.